Welcome, everyone, to today's show. Happy New Year's Eve. It is Happy New Year's Eve 2024. We are about to step in to 2025, and I wanted to help you unlock your next chapter. We have 5 questions for you to design your 2025 intentionally, on purpose, and with a plan. Welcome to the show, Doug Sandler.
Hey, welcome. It's good to be here, and it's good to be hanging out with you again in 2025. I can't. What happened to 2024? It's just gone. It's just gone that fast. How did that happen?
2024, yeah. And later today, as of the airing of this episode, you and I will be doing our some of our VIP reflections of 2024 and goal setting and things like that. And we're going to kind of help you guys do the same thing right now. So hopefully you'll have a chance to listen to this on the 31st or the 1st or the 2nd or maybe the
Mhm.
3rd. Any of those days would probably work before you kind of get going into 2025. But we do an exercise every year. We do a couple actually. We do one the night of New Year's Eve. It's called Reflections, and I've given the link to that to many. I think it's probably jjflizanes.com/NYE New Year's Eve, I think. Anyway, and that's a downloadable thing you can perform with us like we do it, and we burn it and when we're done with it. We also take time for the two of us to really make some goal setting, because this reflections is a little bit surface, and then you want to actually put things into action. One of the exercises I gave the mastermind this year to do at the very end was to list the top 3 goals they had, and then the action items underneath each goal, so that they could actually move forward next year, taking action on the things to get the things done. Because we have goals, and then people don't make a plan for the goal. And so then your goal is words and it means nothing because you don't do it. Yes?
Yep. And I want to remind everybody that that was the right URL that you gave, and it is a really good picture of you, kind of reclining in a chair, looking good with a glass of wine in your hand, probably JJ Flizanes wine. For
No,
all-
at that time, that was actually the mastermind November, Santa Barbara 2020. That picture. I know
Ah,
exactly what picture it is.
yeah, good picture. Yes, I agree. You gotta put into action the words that you say. Without a plan, you're just an arrow kind of aimlessly wandering through the air trying to figure out what the target is. Make a target and actually hold yourself accountable and have a community that holds you accountable as well for the goals that you set. So excited to be able to dig in with this chapter, this stuff, and let's get going.
Yeah, I think last year you and I did a New Year's Eve. I kind of felt traditional that we should do the last episode of the year, and also kind of with this focus, because you know goals are interesting. People have many goals and they don't accomplish most of them. I don't know if there's some statistic, but and even if you write down your goals, right, it doesn't, unless you have a plan and accountability, there's a high likelihood that you will do less than 30% of what you said you're going to do. Yes?
I think they say something like 90% of goals that are set on New Year's Eve without a plan in place by the 7th are forgotten, and that's crazy. It is crazy to recognize the fact that if you don't hold yourself and have a community holding you accountable for the goals that you set, they are just words and maybe not a good investment of your time on New Year's Eve. So if you don't plan on following through on achieving your goals, don't set the goals to begin with, because you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, definitely don't go through this practice if you're a person who never completes things. It's funny, I had someone apply for, I forget which group it was. I don't know if it was Date Your Body, or definitely wasn't the Rewire. It was either Inner Circle Power of 8 or the Date Your Body. And of course, I ask a question on the application on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this for you?
Hmm.
And I think she said 5. And I thought,
5,
why
yeah.
are you applying if it's a 5? And then underneath it, it said something like, well, I don't really take action. Okay, so then you're probably not going to do this. so
Well,
so I guess
maybe that was a cry for help, in that I only set a 5. So as my as how prioritizing this or putting this as a level of importance, but the reason I don't achieve them is because I don't take action, and that is true to most for most people. So yeah, are you? Was she again? We don't have to talk about those that aren't a part of the program, but at the same time, look, think about that. If you're listening to this and you're in JJ's community, do you set goals but don't follow through with actually taking action? And if that's the case, maybe that's part of why you're in the community to begin with, is helping you hold yourself accountable.
right. Well, and of course, the next step is let's get on a call, meet, and talk about it, which then never happened. So, case in point, it was only a five, and she didn't even bother to get on a call with me. So, like, I knew it wasn't gonna work out. Half the time, if I see less than a five, I'm not even gonna write back to you because you just told me right there it's not important. If it isn't important that you have, when you look at what you want. So we're going to start with these questions, and I'm going to do them in the order that we're talking right now. So there, you can rearrange them if you'd like to, but based on the organic flow of this current conversation, the first question I want you to ask yourself is what do you want more of in 2025? And what do you want less of in 2025 than you had in 2024? That's a good place to start because it isn't ethereal. It isn't like it's real. And one of the things that I know it was one of my clients who recently got a bookkeeper or it was interested in getting someone who would review numbers with them more often. And I don't know why I didn't think of it. I was like, oh, I have a bookkeeper and she works on my books every month. And why am I not utilizing her more often and paying her to meet with me every month to go over what we're going over? So that way, before the end of the year, A, the books are easier, they're done faster, and I have a better snapshot and a little bit more influence over what's going on. Back in the day, I didn't do my books at all. I'm a good money manifester. I'm not a good money manager. I'm a good money spender. But in terms of like, I couldn't tell you all the things I spend money on, and sometimes I don't care, and sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes it does. It just depends on the year. It depends on what the goal is, like what do I want to buy next or invest in next, and definitely I've kind of felt like okay, the next level of upping my own personal and business sort of savvy, if you will, is because I'm horrible, as you know, and you don't like spreadsheets either. But I'm never going to be the person that does data entry or does Excel spreadsheets. Forget
Right.
QuickBooks, forget Quicken. That is not my zone of genius. It is my zone of incompetence, which means I should not be spending time doing it. I pay somebody else to do it for me. So it frees me up to do what my zone of genius is. Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I decided to ask Kathy if she would do a monthly meeting with me. Hello, that's so easy. And then so I just feel already more in control and more structured and more accountable and more supported. I think that's really the goal and the word that I want to use here is that I'm feeling more supported already, knowing that this is going to happen, that every month I'm going to be held accountable to doing things, giving her things, looking at things, discussing things. And yeah, I'm excited. So, what do you want more of? I wanted more accountability, financially and in planning and in also like I got a bunch of subscriptions I don't need anymore. Two things that do the same thing and I can get rid of that, but I have to look at it and I have to, pay attention to that. So like I wanted that. And so I wanted more accountability for myself. What do I want less of? I want less of over giving or overdoing or over delivering or having some better, a little bit more better boundaries, if you will, in some of the programs and with some of the things that I'm doing and really kind of investing more of my time and energy into me, my projects, you, our house, our family, whatever, those kinds of things. So that would be my answer. And we don't have to, Doug and I'm not going to answer all these questions. I'm just giving you examples of what you might, both personally and professionally, socially, romantically, whatever. What do you want more of? What do you want less of?
Can I comment on that? Because I think it's
Yeah.
really important as you think about this. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a specific thing like I want less meetings in my life. I want, it can be that, but it could just be I want more time in my life. I want less admin in my life. I want more romance in my life. I want less working late in my life. You can set a general goal first and then work back into reverse engineer. Well, what does that mean in your daily schedule? Well, what does that mean in your weekly or your monthly schedule? So don't get into if you don't feel like you have a handle on the things that you want less of or the things that you want more of, but you have a general idea, just write the general ideas down now and you'll start to work on, you have to train your brain into thinking, it might require that you follow your schedule for 24 hours. It might require that you follow your schedule for a week or a month and write down, hey, I spent today, was in 5 meetings. Man, I dreaded 3 of those meetings. Well, maybe it means that you needed 3 less meetings in your day that day. So just go easy on yourself. This is the beginning point, and this is an area where you can find out what the mores and lesses are.
Yeah. So that was question one. What do I need more of? Or what do I want more of? And what do I want less of that happened in 2024? And I think it gives us a perspective a little bit like more broad. And then you can really think about that. Like if you felt stress, like can we talk about, Doug, the things that we talked about on our hike the other day in terms of in terms of your work stress?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
So
fine.
uh, and this is a manifestation conversation. This is so Doug was saying, you want to set us up in terms
No,
of
no,
what?
you go ahead. You remember always remember conversations much better than I do. I'd like to chime in if I could, because I can't recall the conversation. As you always hear me say, I don't remember the words I used. I just remember the feelings that I had at the end of the conversation.
So Doug has been struggling with wanting to be retired but not be retired. It's so like so I kind of unpacked it. I said, so what does that mean for you? What is being retired or not being retired, or like what are you looking to have less of? And what was your answer? So it's kind of it goes with this question. So
I think my answer was something like, and again, JJ, correct me if the words are not right, but I wanted less pressure or stress in my life because of I love my clients, but my clients create that for me, or they help me get to a point of anxiety or stress because I want to fulfill the needs that they have. I want to always serve. So for me, I felt like there was a lot of pressure in having this, part of my life.
right. Well, anyone that works with people
Right.
has the ability to feel pressure if you in your case, words of affirmation are your number one love language, and acts of service being two. So put those two together, and that's exactly you're in a service-based business that's serving clients, and your reward is you're looking for that affirmation as well as the money, but someone to say that you did a good job or that you did it right or that they feel supported. And one of the things that I had suggested that it's two parts that I thought were good ideas, whether Doug does them or not, it doesn't matter, but I want to share them with all of you because it may apply to you. Doug works for himself, he has his own company, and he can control his schedule. And I said, well, why don't you go back and look at how many, on average, appointments that you took a week in the last year, and then like decrease it by 30% or 50%. That's a place to start because Doug's business will make money whether he's having an appointment or not, if he keeps his current clients because they're on a subscription model. So they have, they're podcast producers, so they produce podcasts. So as long as you're making a podcast, they're producing it and they're paying every month. So he's not based on him showing up all the time. He shows up to make sales calls. So that kind of was my first idea of how to decrease the amount of time so that way you can sort of slowly back away and do a little test of how would my business be affected positively or negatively if I just reduced the amount of appointments that I took that were unnecessary or things that someone else on my team can handle, that kind of stuff. So, and that still really didn't click in. He wasn't real excited about that one. But then the conversation was about mentally. And I said, so what is it about? Like, what's the pressure? And you said, because when clients, you know, are either unhappy or happy, or they're struggling with what their message is, or their show art or whatever. And I said, well, can you just, because of the whole words of affirmation, if you're looking from your clients to always affirm you, and then you get people who are struggling with things, and then you take it personally, that's where the pressure gets created. So, a very basic law of attraction principle is how can I show up already in a frequency of appreciation and security and safety and joy and freedom, and then not take it personally, whatever my clients are going through. Can you do that? And it was like, and for most people, that's one of the hardest things about law of attraction, which is why I'm super excited about the inner circle power of eight, because we're going to get to really, really practice this. How can you live as if? How can you walk around feeling the thing that you want? Because that's the name of the game. You have to feel it. You have to vibrate at the level of having it before you can get it. It's literally physics. You can't want it to happen and be in a state that's opposite of that. You have to be in the state of what the result is of that in order for that to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And one of the things you have to realize is that nothing changes until you change, your perspective on it. So it's like I could wake up in a great mood at 7 a.m. and at 8 a.m. I could be in not a great mood only because of the thoughts that are going through my head. And if you change your perspective, if I change my perspective on how I approach, you know, JJ's philosophy, and I understand this, was treat yourself like you are retired. I mean, put your brain in a mindset of you are retired and see how things evolve as a result of that. So it is one of those challenges where it's like, okay, I mean, it is worth giving it a try, an effort. You don't really have to change anything other than just your perspective on it, and sometimes you will get a different result.
Right. It's the resistance that you're putting up about work that's causing the problem. And that's not just you, that's all of us. Like the resistance to change, the resistance to looking at our stuff, the resistance to doing something hard. I had somebody who wanted to do Date Your Body who was really interested. She knew the price, she was ready to go. She's worked with me in the past. And at the end of the day, she said, I don't think I can do it because I want stuff in person. And I said, I don't think you understand that the value that you're going to get from the kind of group we do far outweighs anything you could do in person unless you're going to have me come live with you for like a year. Like, because having the Marco Polo and being able to integrate into your real life. People often say when they go to workshops or retreats, oh, it's so wonderful because I'm not stressed, because I'm not in my normal environment, and therefore I see things differently, I feel things, I'm more present. But then how do you become more of that in your regular life? Your regular life with your children and your job and your spouse and your bills and your family and your house maintenance and your car troubles and you're like, how do you, this is the name of the game, is integration. Everyone can go away. Everyone can like retreat from their life for a couple of weeks and have an amazing experience because you don't have the confines of whatever programs live in your environment. So she ended up not doing the program, but I think it's a good thing to, at least not yet, because she has resistance to the online part of it, on the Marco Polo part of it. And that's too bad. That's too bad because she's going to miss out on the life-changing integration that happens when you're connected in this way so that I am in your life with you in your normal daily things and you're in my life and we're all supporting you in your normal daily life, not you isolated outside of your normal environment. So again, the attitude and the resistance is what is now going to stop her from getting the benefits of what we do. And for you and for me, I mean, please, I'm not a master at this. I can identify it, but that's why I need the support and accountability also, because without it, we get like, it's like exercise, right? We plateau, we get really good at what we are good at, we manifest what we're good at, but what about the next level? What about something 5 times higher than you? You and I discussed earlier this year that and I said this on a podcast either last week or the week before, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Because there's no one showing you what's possible outside of what, like, you're the most successful person you know, you're the happiest person you know, you're the most whatever person you know. Cool. And if there's not someone else pulling you up or motivating you or inspiring you about what next levels you could get to as easily or with the same effort, then we get complacent. We get bored. We think, oh, I got it. And then we kind of slide back down. And in exercise, when you plateau, your results start to go the opposite direction. If you're not in a constant state of challenging your body into a little bit more, something a little bit harder, you won't maintain your results. You'll actually backslide because at some point in exercise, when you stop building muscle, your metabolism will slow back down again. So the same amount of food will make you gain weight versus when you build your muscle and you lose weight.
Complacency is probably the worst place for you to be in because you're thinking that everything is okay when everything's not okay. So you're either moving forward or you're moving backward. There is no I'm just going to maintain. So everybody just know that you're either growing or you're dying. So continue growing.
Yeah. Okay, that was all around the first question. I don't believe I gave you a second question yet. So, all right. Although, okay, the next two questions kind of go hand in hand. Number two would be, where was I out of integrity with my actions or words in 2024? So that question comes from a whole series that we're going to do in the Power of Eight and in the Rewire, which is a section on the big leap and the upper limits and looking at integrity. Because again, when we go back to, especially when you know some of your wounds, you know some of your traumas, you know some of your issues, and then, and and again, even this is a goal setting thing. Okay, if you have a goal and you say, like, how many years has us as a person? Has there been a goal that you've had year after year that you haven't done? Or do you know people that have a goal? Well, your mother, on her, she's always talking about losing weight. She never does a damn thing about it, ever, ever. And
Gotta
it's just
love,
something to
gotta
talk
love my
about.
mom. At some point, I mean, she's 91. At some point, it's now just a running thing. It's not a joke. It's she's serious. I just need to lose that 20 pounds. But she puts another 10 or another 5 pounds on in the course of that year. So, but it's still the same number. I need to lose 20 pounds. Well, I love my mom, but she needs to lose more than 20 pounds. And she does nothing to help herself get there. So it is challenging when you continue. There's got to be a level of frustration, not just for my mom, but for anyone that sets the same goal over and over and over again, but puts no action behind the goal that they have set. How are you ever going to achieve? That definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You're not going to get the results that you want, no matter what goal that you set, unless you put action behind it.
Your cousin gave me a book yesterday. I think it's called The Group, and it's a fiction,
Hmm.
right? Fiction is
Hmm.
a story.
Yep.
And I can't tell you last time I read a fiction book, but I started reading it today in the bathtub. And boy, was it hard to get through the first two chapters because the woman who's writing it wants to kill herself and she's severely depressed and just the whole energy of it was like, oh, and she's doing literally nothing about it. And so I'm like, I know what that feels like. I think we all go through phases, not all of us, but I think many of us go through dark phases. I mean, that's part of the shadow side of life. We have dark thoughts. That's a reality. Death exists. Anger and all this tragic and trauma, they exist. And sometimes we want to hurt somebody and sometimes we want to hurt ourselves. And it's not the thoughts that are scary. It's what we do with them or what we don't do with them. It's an indicator, and it's an indicator of a pain, and it's an indicator that there's something that we need. And if we continually ignore our needs, then those things grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they end up in suicide. They end up in murder. They end up in deep depression. They end up in being hoarder. Or whatever. They are unattended to needs that someone has. And so it's hard. And I know it's going to turn around because the whole premise of the book is how her life changed by
Hmm.
being in a group, in like a therapeutic group, which is funny that Shelley gave that to me because hello, that's what I do. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to like getting a glimpse of that. But it was really hard because, and I wondered how many people like that might live in my community. I don't think they do. I don't know, but I don't think, because I would imagine that if someone like that met someone like me, I would annoy the crap out of them. Like they'd probably say, "You have no idea how bad I feel. You have no idea what it's like to be me." Like I can't imagine someone at that level of frequency being anywhere near me, right? And so I guess the message I want to say to all of you, if you ever get inspired by some of the things that we talk about on the show and you want to share it with someone who's like that, ask them first. Don't just shove it down their throat, because even though you might receive what I say in a positive way, someone else could receive it the exact opposite way. And because I could feel it. I could feel it in my chest as I was reading it. Like I'm like, oh my God, let me hurry up and get through this. Because yes, it's uncomfortable. And it's not because I'm uncomfortable talking about death or murder or killing myself or anything like that. And again, I'm not doing any of those things. But it went on for so long, like years and years and years. This person has lived like this for her 26 years of life. Like she was 26 when, and again, it's a story. I don't know how much, I'm sure a lot of it's based on real life because we write what we know. But anyway, it was really painful. So let's go back to this question of being out of integrity. So what does that look like? Being out of integrity means and it could go back to this goal setting thing, that I have a goal, something I say I'm going to do, and then for years and years, don't do it, or I only last until February, or I do it kind of half-assed, so to speak. There's a quote from Einstein that you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So that means if I'm not learning anything new, which is why this is my biggest gripe about most talk therapy, is that if you're not actually learning something new, like how to see things from a different point of view, another structure, another foundation, another set of guidelines that would change the interpretation of something for you. If you're not learning those things, then you're just rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Like it still has the same outcome, right?
Yeah, 100% agree with you. You cannot solve the problem when you're in the problem if you do nothing to help solve the problem to begin with. And you have to take the first step. What's that expression? The teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Yes.
And I think that some people put themselves right in the path of a teacher that can help them or a mentor, but because they are not looking for the change, they're not in integrity, they're not willing to look at what the solution could potentially be, they don't even see the teacher. When you are ready to see the teacher, you are you're ready to be taught. So let's get that on that track for sure.
Okay. And that word integrity might land in different places for and again, it's not because you're trying to be out of integrity, but like take stock and ownership of where am I out of integrity and where do I say something that I don't do? Where do I do something that I don't really like? Okay. In the case of performing for love, in the case of I don't want to hang out with these people, but I keep showing up, in the case of I hate my job, but I keep going and I don't look for another one, in the case of I have scarcity, but I never do anything about making any more money. Those would be things that are out of integrity. So, okay, that's question number two. Question number three. Now, the way I wrote these, it was question number one. Question number three is what was your biggest lesson in 2024? And you can put lessons, you can do more than one, but if you had to like take a step back and look at 2024 and say, what was my biggest lesson? I'll tell you one of mine that I can think of right now is that the same strategies don't always work. Just because they worked once doesn't mean they work again. Like, this is not business and life are not necessarily a repeatable, like, even though when you find it, you may think, oh, okay, I found it. And if I just keep doing this, this will always work. And it's like, no, there are so many factors at play all the time that you can't set it and forget it. Most things have a shelf life of working with the parameters you've set up, both in business and in life. And there will be a need to reassess and reevaluate and redesign how you do it next.
I spent 30 years in self-employment believing there is a relationship between the harder you work, the more successful you can be. And it couldn't be any more off than that. You don't have to work hard to be successful. You have to work smart. You have to come up with a different plan. But moving here to California, meeting you, understanding some different concepts and some philosophies and some action items helped me understand quite easily that there is no relationship between harder work and more success. So um, I learned that lesson along 30 years, but it took me to meeting the teacher to understand that, okay, let's try to do some, let's put me time into my schedule. Let's have a budgeted schedule of time. Let's throw things that are not in my zone of genius out, delegate to other people. Let's delete some things in my schedule. Let's do a little bit more dreaming. So delegate, dream, delete are three big D's that are in my life that weren't in my life until I was able to see a bigger picture of what that means. So I 100% agree with you. I feel like you you need to work closer with understanding what your goals are and taking the action to make them happen.
Yeah. And it was uncomfortable for you, as it's uncomfortable. I mean, so, after my event this year, I only had been running one group. And last year, I remember I was running two groups. And boy, did this season this year from October to December feel really different than last year. And I liked it better this year. No offense to those who were in the group last year, but it's wind down time, right? It's wind down time. It's people want to relax. It's the holidays. You have end of year things going on, and it's family time, and it's holiday time, and it's just happens. We get to the end of the year, and it's not that we peter out. It's that it's the season. It's winter, and what happens in winter? The leaves fall off the trees. Things go dormant, and there's a reason for that. We have a cycle, and the cycle, even though it's going to be winter still in January, there is a buildup to spring and summer and then back to fall and winter. And those cycles will help to energize and to direct the kinds of work, the kinds of things we're focused on, the kind of goals that we have for ourselves. Our bodies, I mean, people will probably be more excited in April to start doing a date your body necessarily than in January because they're thinking of the summer and summertime and being at the beach and traveling and being in less clothing potentially. Maybe not. I don't know. I could be making that up.
But think about that. Isn't it amazing though? It took you a handful of years of doing the full year to realize that, hey, maybe five, it took you 5 years. Is that what you're saying?
Hmm.
Yeah, it took you 5 years to doing that since you made the transition out of personal training into the more emotional side of things, for you to realize, you know what? I don't need to do this 12 months of the year. Now you're going to have to rework your uh, your marketing schedule, your
Hmm.
delivery schedule, all
Hmm.
of the things so that they're in alignment with this the contrast of this new schedule for you. And I know you'll make it happen. It's just now a matter of, okay, you put action in so fast that the rest of your business has to catch up with your action.
Right. Hence why I've done a lot of bonus episodes the last couple of weeks here on the show, because of the lead time, if you will, that I've had to, Power of Eight only sort of was born in the middle of October or end of October. So it's only been less than 2 months, I think, that I've been announcing that I created a new group, and it's 8 months long. It's not 12, it's eight. And it's for everyone who wants to focus on their zone of genius and focus on manifestation and also up level the amount of attention and healing that you can do both in your life, personal, professional, both of them, and to contribute to society at a bigger level. But there are different parts to it, which I'll explain when we're done. But if you went back and looked at what your biggest lesson was in 2024, again, for me, like I said, the strategy, how I approach something, how things that worked in the past won't always continue working. You have to try new things. You have to ebb and flow with it. You have to be flexible. That's really what the word is. You have to be flexible. And each stage needs a different amount of attention and focus. So that was for me. Is there anything you can
I
think
don't
of?
know. I got to put some more thought into that before we get to this 12:31. I know this is airing as of then, but at the same time, I need to do that more personal searching for myself to figure out what it is that I need more of, or what I need to do differently in this upcoming year.
Yeah. So question number three, what was my biggest lesson in 2024? All right. Question number four. Question number four, what is my number one goal? Now you can have three. So 1 to 3. What is my number one goal or my top three goals that I want to achieve in 2025? But here's the most important part when you after you write that down. And I would not recommend that you write 10 things down. And here's why.
Too
Because
many. Too
it's
many.
too many. And if you are so dispersed in your action and your energy, you are not focused. Let me say that again. If you are too dispersed among different groups and different goals that you're doing, you are not focused. And if you are not focused, you will take much more time to achieve what you want to achieve. So if the number one most important goal is important enough for you, it requires your focus. It requires your attention. It requires your energy. It requires potentially your money. So, what is your number one top goal? And then again, you can go down for 2 and 3. And then I want you underneath each one of those goals to list the top 3 action items you need to do to get the goal done or to get it moving. Because without the plan, forget it. Like it's just nice words. Like let's talk about words. Oh, I want to be a quadrillionaire. I want to be a billionaire. I want to travel the world in 90 days. Okay. And when and how are you going to make that happen? Like if you don't have the how, then forget it. You're done. Like it was a nice idea. It was fleeting, but you aren't really helping energetically to build it and hold space for it if you're not focused on it and you don't have any plans for it because your brain also doesn't really believe it's true, right? When you take action on something, it strengthens the belief because the law of attraction, you have to believe it. And if you make up a goal that you don't believe, then you're probably, and you don't have any action steps to get there, then the likelihood is you're probably not going to manifest it.
It's kind of like putting together your vision board on the 31st and putting it back in the folder and looking at it the next December 31st without having it staring at it in the course of your day. If you don't stare at it, you'll never make it. You might have a faint memory of what it's all about, but unless you're staring at that vision and you develop a plan of action how you're going to get there, it's not just going to magically appear. I think the key word for me in this whole thing that we have been talking about through these first four is action. And unless you take the action, you're not going to get the results.
True. Okay, so question number 5, last question to ask yourself ASAP and answer so that you can create a structure because structure. So let's talk about structure for a second because a lot of right brainers in this audience too that don't like structure. And let me tell you something about structure. So in salsa dancing, the structure is the basic step. The structure is the music. It's 8 counts. The structure is sort of the basic rules of the dance. And then once you understand the basic rules of the dance, that's why I love the dancing, because it is non-verbal. I can go anywhere in the world, and if I hear salsa music and people say they know how to salsa dance, I can dance with anyone, anywhere in the world, without practice, without conversation, without talking with them, because there's a structure already in place. And then what happens is, because the structure's in place, you're free within the structure. Like, it creates freedom. So, and I know that probably for a lot of people who avoid structure, like, you don't get that yet because you haven't figured out how to create structure, but structure creates freedom. If you don't have structure, you have no, there's no focus. And again, back to, you have to have focus to get this stuff done. But I love dancing for that reason. It's also dancing in particular because of the structure. And then because within the beats, I can do whatever I want to. Like, I have a freedom. When you don't know where you're going, like, there is no structure, it feels like, oh my God, well, I have no idea what's coming up next. I feel unsafe. It can kind of throw you off. And for a lot of left brainers who are a little too structured, it's about getting you to feel the freedom within that structure and let go a little bit, be a little free. Don't be so tied to, don't be so tight. Like, we're trying to find the balance. Like, last week I talked about the balance of manifestation being the action, the feeling and the doing, right? The being in action, the being in alignment. Well, it's still the same thing here with having a structure. So the last question is, what is my plan, structure, and accountability to get this done and to commit to whatever the goals are? Okay, so that would be, so number 4 was your top 3 goals you want to achieve. And then question 5 is, what's the plan, structure, and accountability? Because again, can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. Can't do the same thing over and over again expecting different results. There has to be an expansion. There has to be a stretching. There has to be a uncomfortable doing something different, or at least being held accountable. I mean, as a personal trainer, I guess that's one of the easiest places. I didn't even realize, but it's the easiest place to work with people, because someone will always want a personal trainer. Not everybody, but like many people will always want a trainer because they know they're going to work harder and be accountable if the trainer's doing, telling them what to do. Not to mention there's the education piece, like what to do. Then you're going to somebody who's a professional who's helping you design the program, and that's the first level. But then people, I mean, I had clients for 10 years, and it was because of the balance of education and accountability. So that way they would do it. They would do it well. They would be able to modify it and, deal with whatever injury was happening for them. And that was what kept them going and successful and getting results. Getting
I,
results is like a really good word. Getting results.
I was thinking about your salsa analogy, and then the freedom within the structure of the salsa moves and how that relates to you. And I feel the same exact way about that 4-letter word that everybody hates, that is having any kind of money issue, and it is budget.
It's a
I
5-letter
feel,
word.
but it's a 4-letter word. It is a 4-letter word because budget is one of those that you want to curse, and you want to use the F word when it comes to budget. F that budget. But for me, I see the freedom of having a budget because I now have some structure for what my monthly expenses and income are. And I have the ability within the budget to move in a bunch of different ways. So I see budget as freedom, where many people see budget as restricting. But until you use that analogy of salsa dancing, I wasn't able to directly come up with a comparison that would make sense, at least to anybody other than me. But now I even understand it more.
And I feel that way about certain budgets. Like, I like my HSA account because I always know how much I have to spend on certain physical things. If I want, extra chiropractic or massage or whatever, and I sort of have that budget set aside for tax reasons. I think when it comes to bigger budgets, maybe we'll do. We did a whole session on entrepreneurs and money, which is not necessarily for this audience, but maybe in the future we'll do some financial things. We're definitely doing it in the Inner Circle Power of 8. So let me review the questions really fast, the 5 questions that will unlock your next chapter and design 2025 for you. Okay, in the order in which I did them, it was, what do I need to do more of? And what do I need to do less of? I know it's kind of 2 questions in one, but what do I need more of and what do I need less of? That was number 1. Where was I out of integrity with my actions or my words? That was number 2. What was my biggest lesson or lessons in 2024? 4, what was my number one, what is my number one goal or my top 3 goals to achieve in 2025? And let's change the word achieve because I don't want it to feel so masculine. How about actualize? The top 3 goals I want to actualize or manifest. And number 5, what is the plan, structure, and accountability to get this done and commit? And so, like in every end of the year, we're moving into January. And anything before I go on, Doug, that you want to commit or you want to add to any of that?
No, I like where you're going, and I want to stay in your lane right now.
Okay. Okay. 3 groups. There are 3 opportunities for you to commit and have accountability and integration in your life in a way that no therapist, unless they're doing the exact similar things and using Marco Polo, and then in that case, or individual can give you, because we're literally going to be in your life with your life for 3, 6, 8, or 9 months. Again, if you're having any body shame, you want to lose weight, you want to learn how to like be with your body differently and transform your health and your relationship with your body, that would be Date Your Body. There's a few spots left in that, and we start real fast. So that would be like get on the horn right now and get involved. It's a 3-month program. January, February, ends in March, at the end of March. The next would be the Rewiring Your Core Wound Pattern program. So this is for people who, if you've been struggling with the same patterns over and over again, or you've been in therapy for a long time and you just don't really feel like you're not really like that much happier. Maybe you understand things, but you're not like that much happier. And you want to truly just be happier. You want to evolve beyond your story. There are 2 spots left in the Rewire, also starting in January, and that has 2 options of a 6-month and or a 9-month. Because what happens every year, literally, after someone's in a group for 6 months, they go, "What's next? I want to keep going," because there's this momentum that happens. And so I gave a little bit of a discount to add on the last 3 months, and you get a ticket to the next live event with that. All right. So then, and with both the 6 and the 9 months, and then the exciting one, the new one for me that I'm looking forward to is the Inner Circle Power of 8. And there are, oh my gosh, there's so many books that I have sitting on the desk here that are part of the curriculum, like The Path to Wealth and the Gratitude Formula and the Genius Zone and Mind to Matter and Untethered Soul and the Reclaimed Woman. And we've got where's the rest one? Sacred Rest. Anyway, there's a curriculum and there's flexibility. There's structure and there's freedom to help you and others manifest and heal and up level by having us supercharge you together, like getting into a group. Doug actually participated in a Power of 8 circle I did for my brother. So he got to see and witness sort of what that was like. And it's group healing energy. And at the same time, everyone's going to come in with a different set of goals. And so it's going to be tailored to your goals, but also we're going to all be there to support and up level your goals in a new way, not just yay, not just being a cheerleader, but actually visualizing with you and for you every meeting to help you realize that what you want, whatever that may be for you. So I'm very excited to, and so whether it be you have a problem meditating, or you don't use your vision board enough, or you don't journal enough, and whatever, you can't get out of a certain loop of resistance that you have. That is an 8-month group. It does have one live meeting in person along with a ticket to the next live event. So I'm looking for those of you that actually understand and know and are ready to like rock it in 2025, right? And you need some support because you're ready to next level it, and doing it on your own isn't as powerful as doing it with a group. So hopefully you'll consider those. All of the links will be in the show notes and in the email. If any of you are on my email list, you'll get that too. And just would encourage you to step up. Any last words of inspiration for this 2024? We're leaving it. Thank you, 2024, for all the blessings and all the lessons. 2025, I'm looking forward to 2025 and making some slight changes in things. Maybe nothing huge, but like this bookkeeping thing, and then like committing to meditation in my new vision board that I just made this year, and being able to look at, I have a book proposal that I'm putting out into the world, which I feel really confident about, but I have been sitting on it for 2 years because I have not figured out the title yet. And as of the recording of this, I have not, but as of tomorrow, I might have, because that's one of the things that Doug and I are going to work on. So I'm really wanting to put out into the world a new expression of me. I want the book to be different than my last 3 books. And anyway, so I'm excited to focus in a new way and to have accountability and support to get it done and to get it out into the world and in your hands.
I think about how people get into overwhelm so quickly and easily, not just nowadays, but always. And I really am a subscriber to the school of crawl, walk, run. You just have to take one step at a time, get yourself engaged and involved in a group of some sort. What any of those groups that JJ had mentioned would be ideal after you have a conversation with JJ and figure out what the best place for you to be. You don't have to go this alone, number one. Secondly, you don't have to, gulp it down at one big sitting. My dad always used to say you don't eat an elephant in one bite. You eat them one slice at a time. Now that might not be a really good visual to place on you, but at the same time, one step at a time. Crawl, walk, run, and you'll all get there. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on in 2025 and how you have responded to not only this episode, but the full year's worth of episodes and the upcoming ones in 2025 as well. So excited to participate in getting this done with you, JJ.
Ditto, Doug Sandler. Looking forward to us in the Airstream for a day at least, mapping some of this out and getting ready and doing what we need to thrive in 2025. And that rhymes. Yay! Thrive in 2025. All right, everyone. Love you. Happy New Year. See you soon. See you next year.